Hey, John.
Hey, Eric. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fabulous. Fantastic.
Fabulous. Fantastic. Bueno.
That too.
Awesome.
All of the
Yeah.
above.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
That's good.
That's good.
It is good.
Had a good weekend?
Had a nice weekend, although somewhat irritated to discover we didn't plan this. We were out and about. My wife and I were out and about, and on a whim, we're like, "Hey, you want to go see that new Mission Impossible movie?" Like, no tickets, but whatever. And it was okay. We'll go see it. So we bought the tickets. I didn't notice that at the bottom of the Mission Impossible movie, Dead Reckoning, there's also another subtitle which is really small, which says Part 1. So it's not a whole movie.
A cliffhanger?
Yes. And it was still 2.5 hours. I mean, it was a long movie, Part 1. It's like, God, they're desperate to get people to come to the movie theater, aren't they?
I see.
So they're Part 1. So I was a little annoyed because had I known that, I probably would have just waited. I mean, it wasn't high on my list of movies to see. And if I'd have got to the theater or if I'd have noticed it, I'm sure I would have just, because it wasn't like a plan.
Wait till Part 2's
yeah,
out.
It was like on a whim. It's like, yeah, sure, we'll go see it. Whatever. We got a few hours to kill. Why not?
But did you enjoy it until the end and you realized they were suckering you?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was somewhat. I am not a big fan of Tom Cruise in general, but he's tolerable in the Mission Impossible movie. So it was okay.
I liked Maverick. I saw Maverick.
Maverick was good. I did see that.
That was good.
That was good. But anyways, so
Yeah.
we went and saw a movie,
Okay.
and it was one of those things where we were kind of out and about because I'm going to date myself here. My wife and now this year will have been married for 30 years. Like, I don't feel that old.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Another month, 3 weeks.
Another month. Okay.
Yeah.
Because our 29th anniversary is in a few days actually. So yeah, you got me beat by a year, but
yeah. You're
you're not dating yourself by much.
No.
At least with me.
But my wife loves baseball, and so I asked,
Okay.
what should we do? So she said, well, I want to go see a baseball game at Wrigley Field with the Cubs. I've never been to Wrigley Field. So I'm like, we can make that happen. So
That's awesome.
We got that all set up, and my brother lives in Chicago, and he offered to let us stay with him. So we are going to head
This
to
is going to be
Chicago.
more successful than the Mariners tickets.
I actually have already purchased the tickets. So I have both plane tickets, a place to stay, and baseball game tickets. I have the tickets.
Game tickets.
And I don't need to worry about parking there because I just take the train, the L, and
Okay,
we're
okay.
there. So I am
Okay.
not going to screw this one. Well, I'm just jinxing it now, but yeah.
Not going to be surprised.
No.
Or all plans are in place. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is a fantastic anniversary trip.
It'll be fun. So how about you? What'd you do this weekend?
I, as you may recall, like pickles.
Uh-huh.
And I actually haven't made pickles for a couple of years because the last time I made pickles, I made a Surfeit of Pickles. I'm a little bit bummed because I thought that we would have enough for us to make a fifth batch, but that was going to be dills. And we wound up running out of cucumbers. And I didn't realize that the place that I got cucumbers evidently is the only place you can buy cucumbers in the entire Willamette Valley.
Oh, wow.
They're the place we bought for the last couple of years. A couple of years ago, I gave you half a bag of
That's right.
cucumbers.
That's right. Yeah. I still have jars of pickles left. I am not as pickly an eater as you are. I'm the only one in the family that likes pickles, really. So,
well, me too, but evidently, a pickle a day keeps the doctor away. I don't know. So my parents my parents were down, and because they really wanted to make pickles and blackberry jelly this summer while we were down here. And I was like, well, I don't know. So Friday I called, and I was like, all right, I want 50 pounds of pickles. And they said, okay, we can do it. And so I picked them up Saturday morning, and then we made pickles. We made pickles basically all day Saturday, and then
a pickle day.
Made jelly most of the day on Sunday.
Okay.
So I think we made 78 jars of pickles. Now, my parents are going to take some of those, but I should be left with probably a good 50 jars. So that'll last me.
Okay.
I made it through the pandemic pretty much with about 50 jars of pickles. So
yeah,
I'm good for the next 2 years. Anyway, that was fun.
And the blackberry jelly?
Actually, I need to check. I made two double batches of jelly. A mixed berry, where I messed with the recipe a little bit because I kind of did like a half sugar between. They had low sugar and full sugar, and I was like, how about mama bear sugar?
How about 3/4 sugar?
I want it was like 5 cups of sugar or 8 cups of sugar, and all the rest of the stuff was the same. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of go right in the middle and do like 6 cups of sugar. And that set up perfectly. But my wife at one point in time came out like as we were doing it, and I was like, oh, but I kind of messed with the recipe. I went in the middle, and she's like, John, these recipes, they are tested. You followed the recipe. I'm like, well, but it worked. So but the next batch, I did precisely the recipe. 9 cups of juice. Forget how many cups of, it was like 7 or 8 cups of sugar, and the 2 boxes of pectin. And they say don't do more than a double recipe. I bring to a boil, put the sugar in, boil it, bring it back to a boil, boil for exactly 1 minute, blah blah blah. I mean, I at least as of a couple hours after we were done, I think I might have blackberry syrup. Okay. I'm like, what? I followed that recipe to the T, and so why didn't it set up? Or maybe it has since then. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that was my funny thing there about
nice
when I kind of blazed a trail, it seemed to work perfectly. And the mixed berry is kind of blackberry, raspberry, and loganberry. A little bit of loganberry at least, which should be delicious. But the cool thing is, so my wife got me for last Christmas a juicer.
Okay.
Which has sat unused in our utility room for 8 months almost. And so this was my chance to use the new juicer and put blackberries, and so we made jelly, not jam. So all the all the seeds, get all the seeds out and everything else. And it worked out. It worked out perfectly. So I'm super happy about my Christmas present, even though I didn't use it for 8 months. And I'm really excited in another month or so to try it to make apple juice.
Ooh.
So, we always have way more apples than we can make applesauce out of.
Right. But
if I can figure out if I can just juice them up.
Okay.
And figure out how to preserve that juice. That's on my list for this fall.
There's probably a recipe for that, but you should wing it.
No. We don't wing anything that goes in the cupboard for a year because botulism's bad.
Yeah. My wife is just finishing up. She makes freezer jam every year, and she was just finishing her raspberry freezer jam this morning. So we have probably 30 small jars, like not the big jar, like whatever cup-sized jars or 2 cup-sized jars of raspberry freezer jam to go with our strawberry freezer jam. So
we really like freezer jam too. We always make strawberry freezer jam because it's so bright and delicious.
Yeah, it's tasty. It's exactly.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right.
Anyway,
well, speaking of tasty,
I have to know what the Brisket Saga follow-up is.
That was going to be my segue. Speaking of tasty, so the Brisket Saga, right? I had that device that's supposed to control the temperature. It's Wi-Fi enabled. They removed the app from the App Store. A bunch of people. I don't go on Reddit, but that's where I found the group that was all complaining about what's going on and how they tried to talk to support and support's ignoring them, and emails get unanswered, and submitting support tickets come back with errors and failures, and angry barbecue folks, right? So I'm like, well, I'll just go on the website. I went and found my receipt for it, where I had bought it, and I went onto the website, found they still had warranty claims available on the site. And I said, hey, I bought this. Here's the receipt. Here's the stuff. Here's what's wrong with it. It doesn't work at all. You guys know this. And I submitted, and it erred. And so I tried a couple more times, and every time it errors. And so I was like, fine, I've just wasted more time than it's worth to just, and I just forgot about it. A week later, I get an email from the company saying, yes, we had a third-party vendor. They were not providing the support we expected, and we were not getting the quality that we expected out of the device, so we discontinued it. Thank you for sending us the receipt. We will give you a store credit of the value that you paid for that. So they didn't refund my money, but they at least gave me a full store credit for what I paid for it 8 months ago.
So you can go buy a Komodo Joe's apron or something like that.
I bought a rotisserie. So they have this, it's powered, but not Wi-Fi powered, but it's this ring with a rotisserie. So I can do rotisserie chicken or turkey, they say. And it was almost the exact same price of the credit they gave me. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to get. So I now have a rotisserie for my Kamado Joe. Well, eventually it's shipped. I'm waiting for it to show up. But this all just kind of happened in the last few days. So someday I will have rotisserie chicken that I can tell you all about, along with the brisket. So that's the brisket saga follow-up. Okay,
I look forward to hearing whether it works. I'm not sure how you create... Like, rotisserie chickens at Costco are really delicious.
Yes, they are.
But I'm not sure what sort of drugs they put in them.
Well, I will tell you, I will have, that is the baseline, right, for this rotisserie that I have, because I've already watched several YouTube videos on it. Because when I was looking at it, what could I get? Because, there's a bunch of aprons, and there's utensils, and other things. I'm like, look at all the things I could get. And this rotisserie was a little bit more than the credit I had, but not that much more. And I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on it, and I thought, this looks like it might be fun. Because it's sunk cost fallacy here. I've already spent the money.
Oh, sure.
Why not?
Sure. What's an extra $20?
Let's try something. Yeah. Exactly. Why not give it a go? So there you go. I'm going to try rotisserie chicken on my Kamado Joe, and I'm kind of excited about trying that at some point too.
I look forward to the update.
All right.
That'll be exciting. All right, my friend. How about a topic?
All right. So we've talked about this in bits and pieces over the last several years. Apparently, there is now an official announcement from the White House on a U.S. Cyber Trust Mark initiative. And you can think of this along the same lines of the Energy Star program. Like, you go get your refrigerator or your washer and dryer, they have this Energy Star that tells you kind of how much. This Cyber Trust Mark initiative now is going to be, how good is this product going to be with related to cybersecurity, potential cybersecurity issues. So to kind of list out the bullets of what this means. So the FCC is going to run this, and they're going to use a QR code linking to the National Registry of Certified Devices to provide consumers with specific and comparable security information about the smart products that they are purchasing. And NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Science and Technology.
Oh, yeah, I think you're
standards.
I think you're right. No, I think it's standards.
Yeah, standards. That they're going to define what those cybersecurity requirements are for consumer grade routers, other things like that. You know, what type of risks can occur if they're compromised? Can it be used to steal passwords? You know, all that kind of stuff. So NIST is coming up with the list of how you grade these consumer products. And the same way the U.S. Department of Energy announced a collaborative initiative to look at cybersecurity labeling requirements for smart meters, power inverters, and other components that go into the grid. And a bunch of companies are also joining in to kind of back, hey, we're going to support. And so you can expect at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show that will be coming up here in January, the idea is you will be able to see products at CES that have been certified with this new Cyber Trust mark. Amazon, Best Buy, Google, LG Electronics, Logitech, Samsung, a bunch of other industry folks are behind this, and you'll get a little logo on your device that you can say this is a Shield logo of some sort that says, hey, this has been rated for cybersecurity, and hopefully, I have yet to see what it is. I know the Energy Star program, if you want to ignore it, you can as a consumer. If that kind of, thing is interesting to you, then you will pay attention to it. So I kind of appreciate the approach. It's for consumers who care, they have additional information. For consumers who don't care, And then as soon as you're educating consumers and changing consumers' buying habits, because your product has a Cyber Trust mark and another product doesn't, and they pick yours, enough of that happens, and eventually everybody does it. So I think all in all, it's a good thing.
It's going to only be for hardware, right?
As far as I know, so far, yes. It's not going to be I buy, download the Chrome browser, and the Chrome browser will have a trust mark on it. I think it is specifically for hardware and more on smart devices, IoT, smart TVs, smart everything. Like, speaking of which, we bought a new washer and dryer not too long ago, and it had Wi-Fi in it. We've never enabled the Wi-Fi or turned that on, but smart devices are everywhere, and this would be a nice addition to someone who wants to try to make a reasonably decent buying decision. So there you go. Announced just today.
I think that the Energy Star, when it first came out, I think there was like a wide discrepancy sort of between the low and the high end. And, at this point, you walk down the list and look at all the refrigerators, and they're all like
roughly the same,
about the same. But they're there because of the push for using that for comparison. So it's almost like you got to have it until it's useful. It's not useful anymore. And then does it outlived its usefulness? Should you take it off? Or like the Energy Star thing, at least. And now it kind of just becomes, when you're looking at a appliance, being like, $104 a year to run. Okay.
Versus 102. Whatever. Okay. I'll pick it. Who cares?
It doesn't really matter. Whereas if you were, used to be, you'd look at it and be like, well, I'll take the one that's 100 instead of the 400.
Yeah, exactly.
But
no, as soon as it starts to change consumer buying behavior, everybody gets on board, and now becomes it levels a playing field. And then, like you say, but at the end of the day, it's all good. It's positive.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, that's good. I look forward to, see what the outcomes of that are going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have kind of a fun half topic at the beginning.
Yeah.
This is I forget where I saw this, but I saw this about Oracle is evidently sending out sort of mass emails to people, just wanting to have a friendly discussion about Java.
Right.
Their use of Java.
Sure.
But if you engage with them, they're kind of like phishing emails with a F, not a PH. of like, hey, how can I help you use Java? But anyway, so the sequence goes that if you engage, then they ask for information, do a soft, sort of transition to a soft audit. And then, the conversation is, well, actually, so initial contact, whether they have an Oracle customer at all, or maybe have a minimal Java footprint, never been in touch with Oracle, have gotten emails. Oracle outreaches, despite lack of previous contact, these organizations have all received an email from Oracle addressed to a C-level executive wanting to discuss the latest Java licensing changes. It goes to a request for information. Eventually, it gets to, essentially, they've changed their licensing term within the Java licensing agreement. Mm-hmm. And if you use Java on any VMware environment, you have to license it. Mm-hmm. They claim, based on terms of use, that you have to pay for all processors that use VMware in your organization, not just where Java is being used. And so, it says that, quote, Oracle's licensing policy stipulates that a license must be purchased for every physical host in all VMware environments, not just where Java runs. And they go for retroactive payments, that Oracle doesn't stop at demanding licenses for current installations. They also ask for retroactive payments for the years these Java installations have run. For example, one organization had 24 processors running Oracle Java SE, which would have cost $7,200 on the legacy price list, and they're being pressured to pay over $100,000 due to VMware and, quote, backdated use.
Sure, that's not fishing with a PH.
Potato, tomato.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you're the old school Java dude.
Yeah, I hate Java.
You
I can't decide which is worse, Java or JavaScript.
I think we've had this conversation before. Familiarity breeds contempt.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, I just saw this. I was like, oh. So the thing that kind of blows my mind sometimes, though, is that a bunch of these sort of big data installations and stuff like that, still depend on Java underneath them in places. It's like,
oh yeah,
ooh, okay,
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
okay. I'm happy to have moved on. Yeah. Mostly,
IBM still makes money on mainframe somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they do. Okay, so anyway, that was fun. That was just kind of a little half topic of hey, maybe don't engage, or treat it as phishing,
or use an open source variant of Java.
Yeah, there you go.
There's options. You got options.
There are options. Okay, the actual article that I brought tonight. Two fun things about this. So this is a CNN article about China-based hackers. Got into Microsoft accounts for various departments. So that's government departments. Started, I think they said it was found at the Department of State first. But I also thought that this would be a fun thing to kind of play around with AI a little bit here. So I'm going to read 3 little paragraphs here.
Okay.
So this article is about a report from Microsoft that says Chinese government-backed hackers have been targeting U.S. government email accounts since at least 2020. The attackers have been successful in stealing email credentials from at least 250 organizations, including think tanks, universities, and nonprofit groups. The hackers have also been able to access some of the email accounts of U.S. government officials. Microsoft says it has notified the affected organizations and is working with them to secure their accounts. The U.S. government has condemned the hacking and said that it will take action to hold the perpetrators accountable. The article discusses the potential impact of the hacking. The hackers could use the stolen email credentials to access sensitive information, such as research data, policy documents, or even classified information. They could also use the accounts to impersonate government officials or spread disinformation. The hacking could also damage the trust between the U.S. government and its allies. The article concludes by saying that the hacking is a reminder of the need for vigilance in protecting sensitive information. Organizations need to be aware of the risks of hacking and take steps to secure their systems. The U.S. government also needs to take steps to protect its own systems and hold the perpetrators of this hacking accountable. So that was what I got when I used the Google Docs AI prompt from Labs to say, summarize this article, and I gave it the link to the CNN article.
Ah.
And it didn't do too bad of a job. The like main factual, let's call it hallucination in there, was that this article was posted July 12th, 2023, and it was about finding from just a couple of weeks ago. And I can't see anywhere in here where it mentions since 2020. So like the first sentence has been targeting U.S. government email accounts since at least 2020. Where did it get that data?
It got it from
probably
outside
some
the
other
article.
training data set.
Yeah.
Yep, something like that. But overall, the summary read pretty good. But it certainly wasn't like what I pulled out from some of the paragraphs I pulled out, which was this particular thing. Like a couple of what I thought key points on this was the government actually notified Microsoft, not the other way around. So, and I actually got this link from Zach Whitaker's Sunday summary.
Right.
And in his little blurb, he said that it was because the government pays for extra logging. So most O365 accounts, you don't get access to all the sort of activity logs, but evidently, at least if you're the government, you can pay. And maybe they've got enterprise license levels that you can pay to get like more granular logging for activities. And so anyway, so the interesting point is that the government told Microsoft, and then Microsoft, it wasn't explicit in here because they had a joint statement about 24 organizations, but presumably Microsoft then took the data from the government and used that to pivot and find out who else was being impacted.
So did the full article actually reference 250 organizations? And this one is just about 24? Because there's your other hallucination.
Mm-hmm. I only see 24 in this article.
And only 24 versus 250. Interesting.
Right?
So the AI made it sound more dramatic.
And inserted its own facts, for sure. Yeah. I guess that's the definition of the AI hallucinations, right? It's the definition, Eric, of speak with authority, right? That's
right. Just, it's a fact. Treat everything as fact.
Right?
Fine.
So, it's very,
okay.
Anyway,
cool.
So this article was good. So let me see what other data that I pulled out of here. So the summary did say Chinese government-backed hackers, although the article actually didn't say government-backed hackers. The article said Chinese. Let's see, what did they actually say? Chinese hackers was used a bunch.
Is it the U.S. officials have consistently labeled that paragraph? I don't know. It seems to imply, at least one of the lines in there says, the FBI has said Beijing has a larger hacking program than all other governments combined.
Yeah. Yep. That is a label. And that China has routinely denied the allegations.
Right.
Yeah. It says, the other thing is the number of U.S. organizations, public or private, impacted by the hacking campaign is in the single digits, a senior U.S. cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency told. So that violates the thing at the top that said accounts at 24 organizations. So I don't know if you critically read.
We're thinking too hard. We need hard facts, not fluff pieces,
right? maybe there was more in other things, but anyway, I thought this was a good article, though, in terms of it is incredibly difficult to truly protect. You have to have some measure of detect as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had a bunch of settings. Like I would expect the State Department to have their settings set to, probably with the assistance of other agencies to a decent state. But, the ability to have logging and actually use those logs for anomaly detection, I assume that was one of the things that was happening here, is just super important. So
cool.
Anyway, there you go. That was my article.
All right. You want my something fun?
Yes.
All righty. So my something fun is the secret novel number 3 Brandon Sanderson. You and I are both doing the Year of Sanderson.
I am indeed.
And I know you told me the other day you haven't read this yet, so I will avoid major spoilers.
No spoilers.
I'll give you very light spoil, not quite spoilers.
Okay, that's all right.
Spoilers, right? But it's Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And the way to think about this novel is, what would happen if Brandon Sanderson tried to write a romance novel?
Tried?
So that's tried. Yeah, tried is the operative word. Apparently, even in not the foreword, the prologue, when he talks about the book, at the end of the book, he mentions his wife continually is poking him of trying to add more romance to his books. She thinks they could be improved, apparently, by romance. So this is the book that he mentioned early on that he wrote specifically for his wife. The story that he wrote just for his wife and had no intention of releasing it. And then he wrote 3 other books and they decided, yeah, this would be fun. So,
I see.
So this is that one. This is that one. The fun part is it's in the Cosmere. So, Stormlight Archive, Mistborn, the other areas. It is narrated by Hoyd. So similar to Tress of the Emerald Sea. But it includes his sprint, and it references Roshar and places in Stormlight Archive in passing, as a comparison. This is compared to like you would see on Roshar, or this is, the Roshir are this way. That's how you can think of these, so it's kind of doing this equation, but it's a completely different planet, so completely separate. And it's both Hoyd and his Spren that he has apparently bonded, and that kind of are the bit players.
I don't know he bonded. Did I know he bonded a Spren?
I don't remember this in any of the books, but in this book it treated it as if it were a known fact.
Just a known fact.
So, anyways.
Okay.
It's a very cute story, a pretty fast read. And it's similar to Tress of the Emerald Sea, kind of has hints of Princess Bride in it. It's, like I said, it tried to be a romance novel, but it's called Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. And so Yumi is...
As in you, me, and the Nightmare Painter? You, comma, me, and the Nightmare Painter?
Sort of, I guess. I hadn't thought of that. But the Nightmare Painter and Yumi are the...
protagonists?
The love interests,
okay.
Are they going to get together, and how is this going to work, and is one a hero or is one not a hero? And it's really kind of a fun, unique story. Okay. So this is one that I actually even poked my wife. I said, she's not big into Brandon Sanderson. There's a few things she likes. I'm like, you would like this one. This is definitely one she would like. So
yeah.
She's going to try reading this one. Anyway, so that's my something fun. If you like Brandon Sanderson and want to see what he might try to do with a romance novel, this is the one for you. It was fun.
Okay. I did get the digital download. I actually got an email today that said that they shipped the physical book. But I'm pretty sure that I downloaded it on my iPad. So
yeah.
But I'm still reading my previous series, so I haven't pulled over and done that yet. But I will. It's
definitely a fast read. Now. So, like all these, the so far,
yes,
they've been pretty quick reads.
I do have it on my iPad, so I'm taking the next couple days off. That's actually why we're recording on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I'm gone for the next couple days, so I'm hoping that I get a lot of reading in, but.
Yeah, me too.
We'll see.
I'd be curious to hear your 2 cents on the story.
Okay. All right. I'll try and take it as homework.
So what fun did you stumble across this week?
All right. So I stumbled across an article. I think I got the link from Wired, but it's actually in Quanta Magazine on sparse neural networks. So... And in particular, their use in analyzing scientific data. So sparse neural networks sort of began as a refinement of a convolutional neural net. It says in 2012, when Benjamin Graham, then at the University of Warwick, was trying to make a neural network to recognize Chinese handwriting. Because, if you're reading an image of a Chinese character, it's mostly empty space.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the sparse. And there's lots of examples of sparse data in nature. And so it didn't actually turn into, I didn't pull out the thing, but there was a paragraph in here that he won in the early 2010 decade. He won a prize for the character recognition, better than a human, actually. Generally, it was like 2% error instead of 4% error or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, so he moved to Facebook AI, refined the technique, published it in 2017, and then, but since then, it's first starting in 2019, and then on through to today, it's been picked up and applied to several scientific experiments kind of around the world, in some neutrino detection experiments. Mm. So this is, what was it? It was like DUNE, but what did DUNE stand for? Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment.
That actually kind of works.
Yeah, that one's more natural than many others I've heard. Anyway, there's a number of these experiments, sort of beginning with some research in 2019, which is actually this DUNE. DUNE is, should I read this paragraph? In 2019, he applied SCNNs to simulations of the data expected from the Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment, which will be the world's largest neutrino physics experiment when it comes online in 2026. So we still have 3 years to go. And he did this work 4 years ago. This is Terreo. Terreo, I don't see his last name here locally, but not the Benjamin Graham, but somebody who took the data and or technique has been working with it. So, but anyway, the whole point is that, in experiments like the neutrino experiment, where or in some of the what's this other one? They are looking for, this is a neutrino experiment for, it's the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory at the South Pole, where they're basically sinking these detectors down in underneath the ice and trying to detect neutrinos, the source of them. But it basically, using the sparse CNNs, it says that the analysis of the data is approximately 20 times faster than typical CNNs. So fast enough to run on every event that comes out of the detector, about 3,000 each second. So they're basically trying to figure out, was this a legit event? Do we keep this data or discard it? Because they can't persist all the data from the sensors. It's just too much.
Right.
But so being able to essentially real-time analyze and persist the data that has a probability of being of interest, leveraging the sparse CNNs, they can actually, do it in, quote, real time. And then the last thing that they're proposing, at least, to leverage this on is at the Large Hadron Collider, where, they're trying to, analyze particle collisions, which, the vast amount of data that's being measured is empty. And, you have, you've seen those sort of spark trails that look like, the curling lines from the collision, but, most of the data is empty. So, it says the SCNNs would speed up data analysis at the Large Hadron Collider by at least a factor of 50, Harris said. So that's tremendous if true.
That's pretty good.
Our ultimate goal is to get SCNNs into the detector, a task that will take at least a year of paperwork and additional buy-in from the community. Anyway, this was just an interesting application of kind of a novel machine learning framework.
Yeah.
For, scientific data and analysis. So it'll be interesting. And I guess kind of the final thing on this world is that, this is something that algorithmically emerged from the computer science world instead of sort of the physics world,
Right.
which is interesting as well.
Super cool.
Good underpinnings. So there you go.
Nice.
I thought that was a fun article this weekend.
All right, John.
All right, my friend.
I will talk to you later.
I'll have a nice vacation. I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. We'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.